Hey there, and welcome to your Airdrie Real Estate Market update for March 2025. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the news right now, but what we're going to do here is we're going to get into the stats that we have and what our market is currently doing and see if we can paint a picture of what's going on in the Airdrie market right now. And if you want to know a bit more that's specific to your neighborhood in Airdrie, such as that house down the street and what it's sold for, click the link in the description below to get my monthly market report for your specific neighborhood that gives you all the sold home information as well as other stats about your neighborhood here in Airdrie and all the things like that. So go there, sign up, and I'll send you that report once per month. Now go hit that like button as well down below, and let's get into the overall Airdrie stats. We can see here that we had 123 sales in Airdrie in the month of February, which is a slight increase over the 112 sales we had in January, which is expected going from January to February and getting closer to the spring market. And we also had 225 new listings within the month. Now this one is interesting because it's basically the exact same amount of new listings we saw in January, where we saw 222. Now the reason for this, I think, is that since our spring markets have been coming fairly early the last few years, a lot of sellers were trying to catch the start of the spring market early and listed in January instead of February. So we just had fewer sellers putting their homes up on the market last month because they already had them up in January. Now I would expect here in March that we will see those new listing numbers go up a bit more than we saw in February. Now moving on to our inventory, to start March we had 345 active listings in our city, which is a reasonable increase to see from the 294 we had last month, considering we're getting into springtime now. And now that we know our sales and inventory numbers, we can find our month's supply, which is currently sitting at 2.8 months supply in our market right now. Now what we need to know about this number is it puts us in a balanced market, but it's the highest month's supply we've had since 2020. Like I said, it puts us right in the middle of that balanced market overall in Airdrie, but we're going to get into some different segments of the market a bit later in the video to get a bit more specific on what areas are performing better than others. Now, so moving on our Airdrie graphic here, you can see that we have an average days on market right now of 37 days in Airdrie, and this is down from 46 days on average last month, and this is about where I expect it to be given the current state of our market. And of course, then we have our prices. And for prices, we're up 0.05% in the last month. So basically no change here since last month. We went from an overall benchmark price in Airdrie of $537,300 to $537,600. So just a $300 increase there for our benchmark price. But more significant than the amount of increase is just the fact that there was technically an increase this month, which we haven't seen in 7 months here in Airdrie. But I'm expecting we see that benchmark price continue to increase throughout the spring, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Now moving on to our styles of homes in our city, starting with the detached homes, we had 71 sales in February and 132 new listings. Now here in the detached homes, we actually saw slightly less new listings in February as compared to January, which is definitely not typical with what we would usually see each year. And by the end of the month, that left us with 195 active listings for detached homes with 2.75 months supply and 37 average days on market, and all of that basically lines right up with the city of Airdrie overall average. But what doesn't quite line up with our city average is our price change. Now the overall price change in Airdrie was $300 month to month, but the price change from January to February for detached homes was a bit bigger. Detached prices are up $2,600 to a benchmark price of $638,700, which is a 0.4% increase month over month. And now moving on to our semi-detached homes, here we had 15 sales in February and 30 new listings come to the market, which gave us an inventory of 40 homes to start March with. This gives the semi-detached market 2.67 months supply, which is again in the same range as the city average. 22 average days on market is definitely a bit quicker than average, and the price increase here was even bigger than the detached homes. Here for the semi-detached homes, they went up 0.95% for the month, up $4,700 to a benchmark price of $500,400. So the detached and semi-detached homes are currently increasing in price faster than the city average. Now let's see what the townhomes and condos are doing. And starting first with our townhouses, here we had 26 sales within February and 49 new listings. Now that gave us an inventory of 85 listings to start March with, which means here in the townhouses we have a month supply of 3.27 months, so definitely a bit slower of a market than the detached and semi-detached homes. We had an average days on market of 35 days, and as for prices, well, this will be the first style that we have that's showing prices going down a bit, down 0.15% in February to a benchmark price of $387,200. And lastly, let's take a look at the condo market here in Airdrie. Here we had 11 sales in February and 16 new listings, which gave us 25 active listings to start March with. Now that gives us 2.27 months supply, which is interesting as condos have been on the downtrend lately, and I was expecting the month's supply here to stay fairly high in this segment of the market. But even though the month's supply is showing 2.27 months, with our days on market averaging 64 days for condos right now, it definitely shows us the lack of demand in this area of the market right now. And as for pricing, as expected, we did see a decrease here of 1.3%, down to $295,000, which means the condo prices have gone down 3% in just the last 2 months. And I think they're going to keep going down from here with all the new construction condos coming onto the market in both Airdrie and Calgary. We've got a few years here in Airdrie where there's no condos being built, and now we have a few projects around the city being built, which definitely brings the supply up in the city. So we can definitely see that our detached and semi-detached homes are performing better than townhomes and condos right now. But let's break it down even a bit further than that. Now to do this, I've typically broken down the activity within each price range here in our market, but lately I'm noticing that to get a real picture of this, we also need to break down the housing styles within those price ranges. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to break down the price ranges, but within each style of property where we can reasonably do it, where we have enough data to do it. So we're not going to break down the condos any further though, because basically everything there sells within the 200 to 300 range, and with the odd one here and there selling above 300,000 right now. And we're also not going to break down the semi-detached homes further, as there just isn't enough sales in that range of the market to be able to reasonably split it up and have enough data to go off of. So those two segments are just what they are with the numbers that we went through in the previous section, but we are going to go through the townhouses and the detached homes, starting with our townhouses and looking at the $0 to $300,000 range. In this range, we didn't have any townhouse sales last month, but we do have 5 active listings currently, with 2 of those conditionally sold. Now these are all single level stacked townhomes in this price range, which are basically like condos inside, but they have their own front door access like a typical townhome. Now moving on to the 300 to 400 range of townhomes. In this range, you're going to find more 2-story townhomes, most of which will have a condo fee, but we do start to see some freehold townhomes in the high 300s right now. So here we had 11 sales in February, and we currently have just 7 active listings. So this gives us a month's supply of less than 1 month right now, meaning that this segment, this price range of townhouses is definitely in a seller's market right now. And of those 7 that are active, 3 of them are currently conditionally sold. And now moving on to the 400 to 500 range for townhomes. Here you're going to have a more even split of condo townhomes and freehold townhomes within this range. Here we had 12 sales in February, and we currently have 51 active listings. So you can see the difference it makes bumping into this price range. Here you're looking at 4.25 months supply compared to under 1 month for the 300 to 400 range. So that puts this range of the townhouse market all the way into a buyer's market currently, which is why we're seeing prices moving down a bit for the townhouses. And lastly, for the townhomes, we're going to look at the 500 to 700 price range. I went up to 700 with this one because there's just a few that are listed right now in the low 600s, but nothing higher than that. So 500 to 700 just made sense. So in this higher townhouse range, you're mostly going to find freehold townhomes with no condo fees, with a couple mixed in here that do have those condo fees. These will be the biggest townhouse units in the city, and many of them have double attached garages and things like that. So here we had 4 sales in February, and we currently have 28 active listings. So that gives us a month's supply of 7 months here in this range of townhouses, which puts us very much in a strong buyer's market. So we can definitely see why we saw prices in townhouses go down slightly this month. If you have a townhouse under $400,000 or even in the low $400,000, you're probably going to do okay on your sale. But as you get into the high 400s, 500s, and 600, it gets quite slow in this townhouse market. All right, now let's break down the detached homes, starting first with detached under 300,000. Now in this range, as you might expect, not much availability, but we do have an area of modular homes here in Airdrie on owned land that do fall into this range. So here we had 2 sales in February, and we currently have 0 active listings. Not surprising, as the ones in this range tend to go pretty fast. Now moving on to the 300 to 400 range, here also does not get much activity for those detached homes these days. Currently no active listings and no sales in this range in the last month. So now let's move into the 400 to 500 range. Here you're typically going to find some older detached homes in our city, often starter home type properties here in the 400 to 500. Here we had 2 sales in February, and we currently have 6 active listings. Now that technically gives us 3 months supply and puts us in a balanced market, but given the lack of numbers here, it's not quite as it seems. 3 of those 6 listings are currently conditionally sold, so I expect next month this range is looking more like 1 month's supply. Now moving on to the 500 to 600 range, and this is where the amount of homes really starts to pick up. In here you'll have a range of older homes as well as smaller, newer detached homes. Here we had 24 sales in February, and we currently have 22 active listings, which gives us a month's supply of just under 1 month, which puts us very much in a seller's market still. And of those 22 listings, 10 of them are currently conditionally sold as well. So definitely a very strong market in this range still. Now let's look at the 600 to 700 range for these detached homes. In here, we start to see more of those front drive homes and the bigger laned homes as well. Here we had 24 sales in February, which is the exact same as we saw in the 500 to 600 range, but here we have 67 active listings currently. So that leaves us with 2.79 months supply and basically right in the middle of a balanced market. And moving up from here, let's look at the 700 to 800 range for detached homes. Here we had 9 sales in February, but we've got 62 active listings right now. So that gives us a month's supply of nearly 7 months in this segment of the market right now, which is very much in a buyer's market. Now looking at the 800 to 1 million range, here we had 10 sales in February, and we currently have 30 active listings, which puts us at 3 months supply here, which is definitely an improvement over that 700 to 800 range, and that puts the 800 to 1 million range more in a balanced market as it stands right now. And lastly, let's take a look at our over $1 million range here in Airdrie. We had 2 sales in February over $1 million. We currently have 11 active listings in this range. So we have 5.5 months supply, which puts the highest range of the market also in a strong buyer's market as well. All right, well that does it for our market update today. To sum it up, condos are continuing to struggle. Detached under 600,000 is very strong, but moving up from there, it definitely becomes a weaker market. And a similar story for the townhomes. The lower priced ones around or under 400,000 are selling well, but moving up from there, the market swings more towards the buyer's favor. Well, again, my name is Brad Walker. I'm a local Airdrie realtor with Redline and Real Broker. I hope you learned something about our market today, and we'll see you in the next video.